All right, guys, so here's what we're going to do. Switch those back. And today we're going to do a real life CCOT. And doing that CCOT with your own information was more about the process and trying to figure out, like, all right, how do I explore continuities and change? And now we'll apply what you guys did in those two charts to a real question using history. Now, did you guys struggle with the world historical context? Because I know that third period did, that's why I'm asking, and some of you guys did email me to ask about that. But the world historical context for you guys is going to be, for the question that you did over the weekend, what are some big overarching things, like an era, that was going on during your lifetime that could have affected the way things in your life turned out? And it's something that affects everybody. It's not like, well, my cat died, so that affects me. Yeah, that affects you, but it's not a world historical context. It's not like, and this is going to sound awful, but it's not like people in China care that your cat died. And I know that sounds terrible, but it's true, right? It's not a world historical context. Why are we laughing? Did somebody's cat really just die?
Cats in China.
I thought it was dogs.
They eat dogs too.
No, they don't.
They don't?
No. That's a horrible... Yes.
Just a myth.
Yes.
In Australia.
Did
All right.
they ever at one
So
point-
for world context for us, because we grew up in a turbulent era of superficial mess.
Could like 9/11?
Yeah, you could talk about... Well, not just 9/11, because that's one thing. You would talk about terrorism. Or, hey guys, I really want you to understand this, so stop talking. It could be like terrorism, or it could be computers. You guys grew up in the computer age. Like, do you ever realize a time in your life where there was not a computer or some sort of like something that could attach to like the outside world?
No, we're the MTV generation.
No? Yes? You didn't have a computer in your house at one point? Okay, cool. But you had one.
Yeah, but so we just had it there, but we could never use it.
Okay, but it was still a computer, right?
Yeah, but
Like, I grew up where computers didn't exist,
You
Logan.
get the point.
Logan, listen, I grew up where, like, computers weren't a mainstream thing. Like, you did not have a computer in every house. It was like, there was that one kid up the street who had a computer, and there was no internet. You couldn't hook up to anything. You could just type or play games.
Oh yeah.
I'm serious, that's it. And they weren't games that, like, you talked to other people on. It was a game that you just played, and you put, like, a big old floppy disk, like this big, into your computer, and it was awful. Knowing what we have now.
Yeah, but like in 30 years.
Listen, but that would be world historical context. Another thing that you guys could do as far as world historical context is, like, how many of you guys play sports or have played organized sports at some point in your life? Okay, whether you liked it or not, you did it, right? And I know a lot more people growing up who did not. Because we were told to go outside and play, and you weren't really scared of being abducted. You weren't, I mean, like, we spent all day outside. We had the woods behind my house.
That's
Like,
crazy.
we wouldn't even go home to go to the bathroom because it was the woods. You know what I'm saying?
I'm like that.
So, guys, I mean, I'm talking we were little, too. It wasn't like running around the
Oh wait, you're saying it's bad for me
So-
to do that?
Well, my mom would literally, like, lock the door. Like, she would make us stay outside because if she didn't, it was, like, in and out, in and out, in and out, and she couldn't stand the door slamming all the time. So she literally would, like, close the door and say, don't come in. But it was less scary then. So maybe now, since it's one of the worldwide contexts would be it's a scarier time, or you hear more about those scary things because we are so connected by computers and whatever, that your parents were more likely to put you in organized sports because at least there was less likelihood of you being abducted or abused in some horrible way. Less likely. Yeah. I went to Penn State, I was never abused. Yeah.
For the historical context, do you like have to like make it how it affected you in your life, or do you just say what was
No,
happening?
well, how it affected the question. So for this one that we're talking about, yes, how it affected you in your life. You'll see what I mean when we talk about this question. Okay? Does that help at all? Because the world historical context is a big overarching idea that's going on in the world. That's why it's called global or world context.
So if we were doing this one, would we talk about like the Muslim Empire?
You would talk about the Muslim Empire. You would talk
Start
about
at Islam.
empires in general. You would talk about Christianity, like big religion.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get into this. Are you guys ready?
What was the CCOT about last year?
I forget. Not this. And it doesn't matter because you're never going to see it again. And this was an old CCOT, so you're not going to see this one either. These are more about practice. So our question here, guys, is analyze how political transformations contributed to continuities and changes in the cultures of the Mediterranean region during the period circa 200 CE to 1000 CE. All right, so what's our first step? Yeah.
Think about like where that is, what was
Nope.
happening at the time.
Well, yeah, but what do we call that? Like, what's the bigger?
Timeline.
No, that's half of it. That's 1B. What's 1A? Before I can even do a timeline, I need to know what.
What the question's asking.
What the question's asking. Do you guys agree with that? Okay. So, and you guys can write this down, but I'm also recording it, so you'll be able to see it.
Oh, yeah.
Step 1A. No, I want to write these. I'm sorry, what? Yeah.
Does it record my voice?
Yep.
That's crazy.
Can you guys stop talking because I can't think of what I'm trying to write here? Okay, and then 1B was what, Nick?
Make a timeline.
Yeah. Now, for the activity you guys did over the weekend, you guys had already provided yourself a timeline. Well, when you see the CCOT, you see the question and then you have to create a timeline. Okay, and this is all supposed to be fast, and you'll get better at it again with the training wheels. We'll start taking them off little by little. Okay, I don't want you to freak out. Just learn the process right now. So we have to know the question, and 1B is the timeline. So what's the second step after doing that? Logan? Nope. What did you guys do after looking at your timeline? Yeah, but a little bit more than that. I mean, after you did that. In the chart, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the continuities and changes chart. And then after you did that chart, what was the third step? Before that. So if you were writing the essay on the CCOT, like on the actual test, would you have that paragraph organizer? No. So what's the third step without that paragraph organizer? Yeah. Thesis. And then after the thesis, what do? You write it. Okay. And you write it based off of what you have in your continuities and changes chart. Now, on the test day, do you really think I want you to sit there and draw boxes and have it all nice and like a chart? No, you can do continuities, changes in this category, continuities and changes in this category, and that way when you go to write your essay, it's just organized for you.
How much time do you have for this?
40 minutes.
40? As in like 60 minus 20?
Correct. Okay, so guys, if we look at this question,
Oh my god.
what's the when? What's the when?
200
Okay, 200 to 1,000. All right. What's the where? Mediterranean region. And what's the what? Like, what are they asking us to do? Okay, yeah, but it's more than that. It's not just the political transformations and continuities and changes. It's how the political transformations continued or changed cultures. So how did the politics, so I'm going to write it because it'll make it.
So like cultures, could you write about like how like they eventually made women like wear veils? Is that in this time frame?
Yeah, I mean, but you would have to talk about Islam first.
Yeah, that's not right. Islam and how that affected like
You'll see when we get to the chart. So are you guys cool with this part?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's go to the next slide. Are you guys ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Oh, good. So here's the timeline. All right. And if we're looking at the question, which I keep putting at the top of each slide, the Mediterranean region, if we're talking about that, what continents are we talking about, or what like major regions? Nick, give me one.
Western Asia.
Okay, so we have Western Asia. And what else? Go ahead.
Southern Europe.
Southern Europe. And what else? Go ahead, Logan. Yeah, but what part of North? What? Yeah. Because that's part of the Mediterranean. You're right. Okay, so if we're talking about these three places, and we're talking about this time period, what are some of the political things that were in charge of these areas during that time? Because we're looking at the politics, right? Nick, give me one.
In Southern Europe, the Germans were pagans.
Yeah, but they're not along the Mediterranean.
Oh, okay, so in North Africa and West Asia was mostly Empire.
Yeah, but let's be a little bit more specific. I
Right,
spelled
it's
this
not
wrong.
six.
Yeah. In North Africa, you have a lot of people. You have the Berbers.
The what?
The Berbers. They were the people, the nomads who were there before the Islamic Empire came in.
I don't remember that.
Well, I'm telling you them. Okay. Those were the original traders of salt.
Oh.
So you have the Berbers, you have the Umayyads and the Abbasids. And then if I wanted to, in West Asia, if we're talking about original people, we could also talk about the Bedouins.
The Bedouins.
The Bedouins, which really, how do you say that?
Bedouin.
Bedouin.
Oh. Were they the nomads?
Yes. I always spell it wrong too, so I'm sorry.
Bedouin.
Okay, and then if we're talking about South Europe, now this is where things get a little weird. We're talking 100, right, or 200 CE. So what was still in place in South Europe during Rome?
So can you talk about how a big change was affected?
Where else was Rome, though?
In
North
West Asia?
Africa and?
West Asia.
Right.
So could you talk about how like Rome fell and Rome became Rome?
You have to.
Okay.
Okay, and then what else do we have in South Europe? Particularly after Rome falls.
The Persia.
In Europe?
The Byzantines.
The Byzantines.
I only know how to say that because that's true.
And then the Byzantines were also in West Asia. I'm just going to put Biz. Okay? And you guys should
Were
know.
the Persians in West Asia or no?
Persians, yep.
This is
Sorry.
a lot to talk about. How do you fit this one?
Well, you just try. Okay, so the Persians, when do they fall? Do you guys know? Start looking stuff up. Help me out so that we can put this stuff on a timeline. And typically, yeah, you guys can use the internet because you have that in front of you, but I have the text.
Oh, I got the internet right in front of me. Fall of Persia.
Fall of Persia, please.
550.
550?
550.
Okay. So if this is, we're starting this timeline where? And we're finishing it where? Okay, good. So if we're doing, you said 550, Nick?
Pretty sure. Yeah.
Yes, 550. So that's kinda here. And I'm just using colors to make it make sense to you guys.
Wait.
What?
651. My bad.
What would you do 650?
Yeah, 651. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fall of Persia, and I'm going to draw a line because they were around for a long time before they fell.
They really were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll just talk about it that way. If we're talking about Umayyads, when did they come about?
Around the same time the Persians fell, right? 700,
A little bit before.
800.
before.
So like around 610.
6:30.
It's like 6 something. Hold on. 661 it says, right?
Wait,
Umayyad Caliphate.
but you said that we could follow Persian.
He said 651. Is he wrong?
No. I got 650.
For what? Umayyad? All right, close enough.
Yeah, we
16.
get the general gist.
And I'm gonna go Umayyad. And when did they fall?
750.
So we're like here-ish.
And they go.
And I'm gonna draw another line. And this is 750. And then when 750 occurs, who comes to power? The Abbasids. So 750 to when?
Past 1,000.
1258, right?
Yeah, so it's past.
So all right, who else do we need? We need Rome, right?
476.
So they die in 476. So we'll put that like here-ish.
Sounds like an acronym. So it runs like in 476. Run by.
And then after Rome died, who came out of that? The Byzantines. And let's make them yellow because everything was gold in Byzantine. I'll make them orange because that's closer.
Is that really true?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. Okay, I'm going to make this. Then the Byzantines, when did they fall out of power? I think it was like 750.
This is so much to put in one essay. Byzantine Empire.
Guys, don't freak out. Don't freak out. You remember what you remember. Obviously, I don't remember it either. Look, I'm looking in the textbook. Are you kidding me? What'd you say, 1450? Oh, yeah, so they're around forever.
Freaking big names. You didn't really talk about this.
Guys, stay with me. So you have the Byzantine Empire. They're in power from 476 until 1450.
Did you say the Bedouins were?
The Bedouins, I didn't say yet, but they were in power before here, right? So
Were the Bedouins really ever in power?
they weren't necessarily in power. So let's do this. We'll just say that they existed.
They had a squiggly line for existence.
Yeah, is that cool?
Yeah, the squiggly
Um,
existence.
Rome, Byzantine, Umayyads, Abbasids. We have Rome, Byzantine. How about the Berbers in North Africa?
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Well, they
So the
were,
Berbers were around since before the Umayyads, so we can do basically the same thing as this.
do they get a squiggly existence?
When did the Umayyads come to Africa, though? This is different. Yeah.
By the time you get this timeline done, like you have 5 minutes to start the essay.
Well, no, because we spent the first 10 minutes of class talking.
Trust.
Islam spreads across North Africa, 600 to 700, so let's just say 700.
Yeah, let's just
You guys cool with that? So 700, you have in Africa. And they fall here, so then they were done. And then before this, again, we'll do another squiggly line.
That's a weird squiggly.
Well, it had to go somewhere,
Oh my god.
and that was the Berbers. Now, guys, along with this, and this is good because this is all the political stuff. Now we have to start thinking about what cultural things go along with that. Let's look at the next slide, and the next slide will show us this chart, which now that you see political and cultural, it makes more sense. Sorry, I used the wrong chart on my big campus for you this weekend. You guys had political, the chart that you used this weekend said political and, oh, good, that's what I wanted you to do.
Yeah, that's what I
All right, so guys, if we're looking at this, what are characteristics that were present at the beginning of the time period? So in 200, who was around politically? Rome. And who else?
Bedouins.
Persia and the Bedouins.
And America.
Not quite.
Well, it was there, but it wasn't in this region. Okay, so you have Rome, Persia, the Bedouins, and the Berbers. Who do you have at the end of the time period politically?
The Abbasids, the Umayyads were dead. Byzantines.
You guys want me to go back? Who do we have? Okay, so the Byzantines and the Abbasids. That's basically it. What do we know about the characteristics of these political institutions compared to the characteristics of these political institutions? Nick.
Well, the Abbasids were
Bless you.
an Islamic-based state, and none of the ones in the beginning were Islamic.
But I don't want to get into religion yet because religion belongs with culture.
Okay, so politically.
So we could say theocracy.
Yeah, theocracy.
Do you guys know what a theocracy is? It's a religious-based nation.
We learned that in code first.
Good. The Byzantines, were they a theocracy as well?
No, they were an empire.
They were a theocracy.
They were?
Yeah.
Based around what religion?
Eastern Orthodox.
With Christianity, basically?
Yep.
Okay.
Rome, what do we know about them?
Empire.
Okay, they were an empire. Persia,
Empire.
Bedouins,
Nomads.
and Berbers,
Nomads.
nomads.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
That was-
so guys, do you see a pattern?
Yeah, everything became a theocracy.
Well, religion.
Everything in this area. Right. Okay, so the key continuities here are that there was what?
Empires.
Civilizations, leadership. Okay.
Well, strong leadership, like kind of like dictatorial leadership. Like authoritarian.
I don't know if I would call it that though, Nick. And we can argue about that, but I mean, Rome, they said you can belong to us if you
Yeah.
want. If not, we'll just take you as slaves. But
Well, non-democracy, I guess.
yeah, okay. Okay, what are some of the changes?
Less nomads.
Yep. No nomads.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just. Well, I might want to say less though. Less actually makes more sense. Less nomads. And why do you think these were the changes that occurred? Changes or continuities? Like, why did things stay the same or change? Go ahead.
The changes happened because they had more time to think about religion.
Instead of more time to think about religion, why don't we say that these religions
We're more advanced.
became prevalent?
Yeah.
You know, like they started spreading, and maybe trade created that. So changes, spread of Western religions. And what about why did things stay the same?
You
Desire.
can say like it worked, like the methods work.
Okay. Say again.
More specific.
Efficient.
I mean, they were still large land masses, right? It's not like.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at the next one. So if we look at culture here, what are some of the cultural things that are at the beginning of the time period? So if we look at cultural, what do we know about Rome?
They were pretty tolerant for an empire.
Yeah, but that doesn't. What do we know about their culture?
They didn't have really like an established religion. If
Okay.
They had, like multiple gods.
No established
Well,
religion,
until they became
paganism. Because if you talk about the Roman gods, then that was typically paganism. So no established religion. We know that they used logic in science.
so logic basically went away.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
What else did? How about just diffusion because of the nomads?
Oh yeah.
Okay. What was at the end of the time period? So we have the Abbasids and we have the Byzantines. Culturally, what do we have? established religions. Islam.
Well, you were doing it in the wrong one.
Oh, you're right. Thank you. That would have been not cool.
What a catch that something.
Okay, so we have Eastern Orthodox. And we have Islam. What else?
Theocracy.
Is that culture?
Well, kind of like a religious-based culture.
Because they want to know how did this affect this.
Okay.
So we can talk about that in a second.
So people follow like religion.
Okay. And then what are some of the continuities here between this and this for culture? Was there some sort of religion? I mean, it may not have been like an established religion or like what we know to be. These are actually, let's go with monotheism.
So like continuity could just be like.
I mean, and these guys, the Persians were monotheistic with Zoroastrianism, so you could, I mean, if you wanted to, you could go that far. But, so religion was around. These guys, didn't the Abbasids bring science and math from India to other places?
Yeah, I guess. So could that be like the continuity, like use of logic in development of science?
But see, this was more like experimental science. They would actually experiment, whereas these guys did not.
Just like science and math being around them.
Right. Yeah.
We also do it accurate something that shows numbers.
Yeah, that's why I said math. So religion, we also have diffusion. That's a continuity, right? With trade. Are you guys getting the picture here yet?
Basically.
Okay. And then why are these things staying the same or changing?
The like contemplate the transfer of complete monotheism.
What else? I mean, anything? How about spread of Western religion? Now, if we were looking at the major global context here, what is the big overarching world historical stuff that is going on during this time period? There's a couple, so throw them out there. You may not be wrong. What? Spread of Islam, but not just spread of Islam. How about like big religion, like Western religions are coming into play? Okay, so that's a world historical context. What's another one? Trade routes and diffusion along those trade routes is big during this time. And then you could talk about like empires and taking over other lands as being another global context during this time. Does this make sense? Good. I'm glad. As long as it makes sense at some point, I'm happy.
I feel like this was easier to understand. Like,
Because it's based on history.
than
Right.
your one.
Wait,
Well,
so
that and I'm doing it for you.
Yeah.
What's up?
were there no key changes?
There were. I just didn't. What are the key changes? Religion from.
The West.
That's kind of weird.
Well, and it can be because there are different aspects of it that are continuity or continuous, and then there's other aspects of religion that are change. So, whoa, I know. That is true analysis. When you're looking at something and breaking it down into all its little parts.
Continuity exception.
So pagan to mono is a change. We also have science and math being a change, and you would have to explain how that's a change. And I think we're good for now. Let's go to the next slide. And then here, guys, is where you would write your thesis statement. So now that we looked at everything, we know what the changes and the continuities are. We can say, and remember, we're trying to answer the question. So it says, no, it doesn't say anything. thesis in the period. In the period 200 CE to 1000 CE. Now I'm going to have to change this a little bit. What changed? The changes in politics affect the changes in continuities in culture, right? Because that's what the question's asking us to do. Okay, now my question to you is how? How did politics affect culture?
Make sure you say that in the Mediterranean region.
Yes, I should. Sorry. That doesn't necessarily mean that was your bell, was it? Oh, they're right here. Okay, so do you guys kind of understand where you're going with this? Because now the thesis statement, you have to figure out how did politics affect it, and then you need to put that in your
Are we
thesis.
actually going to write this essay?
You are actually writing this essay, and it's due on Wednesday.
Like this one?
This one, on Wednesday.
Okay.
Wait, I'm not going to be here on Wednesday. Can I hit it?
I'm posting this lesson
Okay,
on...
my behavior.
Yes, I am.
Thank you.